with him, you know, again, ready? Okay, this is Lou. We're gonna do more stall work today. It's a stall work day. We're gonna focus on, at least from what I think right now, is getting the hind legs to track up into the front footsteps. So we're gonna work on the ribs and opening up the shoulders and getting his hind legs to move through. Yes, big sigh for that. So we'll first start with assessing the situation. So we'll have him come around us on a circle. And I'm gonna watch his feet a couple times around to see what I need to do. Good boy. Again, this horse has been in some work, so he hasn't had a lot of work lately, so we're picking things back up. Good boy. So the goal is that his inside hind leg is stepping up into the right front footprint, which he struggles with. Good boy. So then I'm going to ask him to bring his head down a little. And when I did that, he went too fast. So when you ask the horse something with your hand and they tend to rush forward, that means they're leaning on the hand. So we're going to practice some stops and starts so that he doesn't lean on my hand, and then I'll shift him back a little bit. Good. Good halt. Wait, no, I don't want him to move yet. That was a good guess. I'm going to do a little adjustment with his head. Good boy. Stand up. And then I'm going to stretch him. Good. I'm going to bring him down. And same thing, I want to bring him in, but I don't want him to twist. So it's like, nope. Okay, so there's where he's locking in the neck. He holds a lot of tension in his neck and in his whole body, really, but a lot in the neck. So we'll go down, right, and then in. Good job. Go back straight, line them back up. Fix it. Good job. Very nice. Releasing the jaw. And it's always ideal to start with your horse in a good balance. Sometimes they can't do it, so sometimes you have to let it slide a little bit. I didn't know whether or not he was going to let me get him in a perfect square halt, so I'm pleased that he chose to do that. And when he did, he actually released his jaw. So when you're doing this work, it's important that you always kind of help the horse find that spot where the front end is perpendicular to the ground and the hind end is pretty much seated a little more underneath them. You don't want the haunches way out behind because obviously then your back is hollow. Some horses have to stand a little bit off on a hind leg in the beginning. The goal is eventually that everything is perfectly together in a rectangular box. So, you know, you can let little things slide, but eventually you're going to want perfection. So as I go to touch his nose and he shifts his body, that tells you that he's resistant in his neck. So we're going to play around a little bit with him not bracing his neck and bracing against the contact. So shifting gears we're going to focus on the front end instead of on the hind end right now. But through releasing the front end, we will access the hind end. So again, he wants to rest the hind leg. So I'm not going to address that. I'm just going to vibrate a little bit with my hand because he wants to lock against my hand and avoid. This is all avoidance. And the avoidance is the release. You know, so he's avoiding submitting and releasing to me, which again, obviously that cannot be forced, and you could watch his mouth, how very busy it is. His lips. So all that he's holding in his neck. So instead I'm gonna flip his mane over, and then I'll focus on some stuff in his neck, because he wants to be tight when I go to touch him. So I'm going to go to trying to help him release certain parts of his neck. So if I bring his nose slightly in, I'll just gently, like, oh my God, like feather light, have my hand on his neck just a little. So when he goes to bring his nose in, I'm just trying to soften the neck muscles. And a horse that overreacts like that, you know, is again resisting the release. So we're trying to guide him and show him that to release is not a bad thing. So he doesn't have to fight. This horse is a fighter. And then again, I'll put my finger on the ring here and just see if I can get him to soften a little bit. And I'll move his head a little bit away. And then I'll wiggle it a little side to side so I can create some form of movement, because he doesn't want to move. He wants to just lock against me. Like his neck is pretty hard right now. And he's resting his right hind into me, which is not necessarily good. So again, I'm going to take my whip. Oh, wait, he fixed it. Perfect. Oh, and then the jaw just did something. And here's the thing, it's like when a horse is holding this much tension, even just when you go to ask it to do something, like if you imagine trying to get on it and ride it and do something with the reins or your legs, it's like the horse is just a balled up mess. So, you know, you have to take the time to help the horse to soften so that they accept, you know, you and want to let you in, because you can't force a release, and you can't force softness. You have to help the horse find it. So here I just kind of play around with certain spots in his neck, and I'm standing in front of it and just bringing his nose slightly in as I do, and you could feel like right here is pretty tight. So again, just very, very subtle movements. And then if he reacts like that and he needs to shift, then I'm going to take myself away. Again, he's resting on the hind end, so we want to have him stand up. Come on. Not come forward. Boy. No, stand up. Come on. Standing on your tail. Up one more. Good boy. And again. Good boy. And again, this is loose enough so the horse can release his jaw. And that's what I would like to see. Nope, no. Okay. Good cage. Good job. Super duper. So one of the things this horse used to do is he would, his right hind would always step to the left. So at least now it's coming forward. But one of the things that I did to help him do that, which I don't necessarily need to do now, but I'll share my secret, is I would hold his tail, and because he was so tight in his rib cage, I would just bring his tail or his right hind a little bit towards me on the swing forward. See, and then he wants to fall in. So actually this is interesting. So we'll play around with this. So when I bring the right hind forward a little or in a little bit, I'm creating a rhythm in his rib cage to get him to release the right rib cage and pick up the right fore a little bit. Oh, good boy. Yeah, good. Right hind a little, push, push. Right hind a little, in. Good. In. He's kind of big, so if I had 12 more or 24 more inches in the stall, it might be a little better. But it's good, it's fine. You can do it. Good job. Good. Yep. Keep it up. Don't come in too much. See, then he wants to overbend his head in. So then I move his head away. That's when I know I'm getting close to a release in the rib cage. Good, because he starts to avoid it. Good, and he's actually picking up his right fore better. Come on, that's it. That's it. Good. There he semi-released his jaw. And if I had a bridle, I would take a little bit my outside rein like I did with Marquis earlier today, so that I can help him straighten. Good. So now I'm gonna, good boy, I know it's hard. You can do it. That's it. So now I'm gonna help guide a little bit. Yes, there's your release and jump. So I'm moving his head away from me. To line him up a little bit more, because he wants to overbend in avoidance. Good boy. Super. Head away. Good. Good. So by me turning his head a little bit away, gets him to bring his outside shoulder a little bit around instead of him over bending there. Then I can bring the outside shoulder around instead of him falling out of the outside shoulder. Good, Lou. Careful. Super. Cheating. That's it. Yeah. Some days you think you have a plan and then you have to change the plan around. Good boy. Good. Give it up. Yeah, because if the horse overbends the head to the inside, they don't actually, they're not releasing the rib cage in. They're just pushing the rib cage more to the left. So we're going to change direction because he wants to stay over curved like this. And I'm finding the right hind is actually not bad. He is you know, a little tight in his neck, which is normal, but he's dropping his shoulders to the outside and his rib cage to the outside. And even though he's bringing his right hind up close to the right front footprint, we're losing the left shoulder. So we're going to come in it and come ahead or change direction and address the left rib cage moving away so that I can open up the outside of the horse a little bit more. And so we'll play around with that. So back to the left, creating a rhythm with the left rib cage. And then here, you know, I kind of, sometimes just my gut tells me where to put my hand because I can feel where the horse needs to yield a little bit more. So, you know, you have a whole rib cage here. That's a big one. So you can experiment with where you place your hand and just kind of keeping it in certain spots. So you create a nice rhythm. And again, I'm not pushing the horse away from me. I'm just connecting when the rib cage moves away, away, away. And then that's too much. So I'm going to take my hand away because he was starting to avoid. And then he dropped his neck. So that was good. So he was avoiding. I took my hand away. He dropped his head down, which then reopened the rib cage. And then I'll come in again. In. Like pushing a little bit away, away, away. And I'll move my fingers a little bit. Good. Good. There. And then we start to get a lengthening in the neck. Very good. That's what we want. Super duper. Very nice. Good job, Lou. And then there he just released his jaw. When he released his jaw, he got tight in his ribs, so I took my hand away because I don't want to create more resistance. He just gave me a big release. So when he gives me the release, then I'll come back and then away. Now he's over bending the head and neck again. So if he does that, I'll halt so that he can reset his balance, and then we can start from scratch again. Good. And then I'll shift him back into a better balance. Fix your hind leg. Good job. Very nice. I would like the front end to be a little more open, but that's okay. So then I'll come here and then I'll just kind of move my hand along the rib cage and then see where, if I can get him to bring his head slightly in when I apply pressure on the ribs. Very good. Excellent. Good job. Because when we ride, we want that reaction. When we put our leg on the horse, when we put our inside leg on the horse, we want the horse to curve around us and come up and expand on the outside, not retract and lean into the leg. So a lot of this is you're doing prep work to help educate the horse the correct answer when you're on their back. Job. And we'll do a little bit more. And then again, you know, and this horse, his owners worked with him on many occasions. And, you know, sometimes what happens is the horses they build up little idiosyncrasies or resistances because they know that the timing of the person that's handling them isn't precise. And this horse looks for loopholes a lot, just his nature. And he tries to avoid to do the right thing, unfortunately, because of how he was handled when he was young. So it's been a long process with him, teaching him that he can trust human guidance. Good job. Much better. So I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to close this for a minute. I'm going to cut him loose. And we'll do a little stuff without the cavison. Because this is pretty cool. Because I want to give him a little bit of ability to explore a little more freedom in his head and neck. So that I'm not holding on to him. Because he tends to get tight when you have, you know, contact. Good boy. So we'll just mess around with the rib cage right now. Good. dropping. There's your release in the jaw.
Yeah, this is a big, huge belly.
Walk up and around. And out. Boy. And then I'll move myself here again. And then come in. And then ask for a softening.
Big old belly.
Meeting. Need to move properly. So what I might do too is because when he wants to turn the head, he wants to twist. So then I'll ask for a little bit of a release of the pull and bring his head around a little. So there I'm putting my hand underneath the jaw on the other side, and then I'm just creating a little bit of a release so that he brings the eyes around. Let's see if we can, get that to let go. Bubbling like right underneath my hand where I put it. It was so cool.
There's a bubble in here.
Back around and movement. Only because I want him to release his jaw. So he just released his jaw. So ideally if he releases his jaw standing still, then that's the quintessential piece of the puzzle that I'm going for. Good job. So then again, let's see how he turns his head. Better. Good job. More perpendicular that time. It was less twisted. So again, then I'll come in. And then here now he's actually letting me do this briefly. For a moment. But this is not a horse you hold. Good. There's your release in the jaw. So fair enough. So then again, right side around a little bit. There's another release in the jaw. Right side around a little bit. Again, I'm not holding him. I'm just showing him, that this is a better placement to create a good stretch or to get that release on the outside. Body work. Can you do body work on me, Lou? Very nice. I don't want him resting the hind leg because, again, it's an avoidance of releasing the jaw. Shoulders. One. That's interesting. That's really not what we're going for. Come on, pick this up. I chose to remove the cavesson because he does tend to lock a lot in his neck. So I thought, like, see, because even when I touch him, he wants to brace and be resistant. So it's like just trying to allow him some freedom. I mean, I could have left it on him. Good. Hold on, hold it. But if you see too, is interesting, is when the horse resists a lot and tightens the neck, his whole back drops. Huh. And let it go. Good. Good. Super. Are you gonna fix the front end? No. There. Ideally, we want to stop there. Try again. Right here. We'll go 2 times around, and then we'll halt again. There lie. One more. Better. Much better. You can tell a lot how your horse stops, where their balance is. Good job, dude. Mr. Defensive.